You know that feeling when you're watching a movie and a scene just hits you? It feels incredibly powerful, or tense, or just beautiful? Well, that secret sauce isn't just about the acting or the dialogue. Nope, it's in the hidden language of composition. Today, we're going to open up the filmmaker's toolkit and see exactly how a simple shot gets turned into a powerful story. So how can one single, silent image tell you everything you need to know about a character's power, the drama of a moment, and even the theme of an entire film? Well, the answer is all about the deliberate, artistic arrangement of everything you see inside that frame. It is absolutely an art of intention.
At its core, composition is just that, arranging all the stuff in the shot. And this whole idea started way before movies. I mean, think about classical paintings, right? Those artists had to pack a whole story with characters, conflict, and emotion into one single static picture. Filmmakers just took that same idea and, well, put it in motion.
To really understand this language, we got to start with the absolute basics. These are the foundational building blocks, the simple geometry that holds up every single shot you've ever seen, from the simplest home video to the most complex blockbuster.
All right, first up, the simplest tool in the box, the point. A point is a ridiculously effective way to direct your attention. Our eyes are just naturally drawn to a single spot, a little dot of interest on a big canvas. It's basically the visual equivalent of someone yelling, "Hey, look over here."
And of course, filmmakers have all these clever systems to make this happen consistently. You've probably heard of the rule of thirds, which places a subject at an intersection to make the shot feel more dynamic. Then there's the golden triangle, which uses diagonals for balance. They're all designed to guide your eye with pinpoint precision.
Okay, so if a point tells us where to look, our next tool, lines, tells us which path our eyes should take to get there. Lines are the fundamental building blocks of an image. They create direction, they set the mood, and they act like invisible arrows, leading your eye exactly where the director wants it to go.
And check this out. There's so much meaning packed into different kinds of lines. Vertical lines, they feel strong, powerful. Horizontal lines, calm, peaceful. But leading lines, oh, those are the real workhorse. Think about Christopher Nolan's movie Inception. You know, those converging lines in the hotel hallway? They don't just look cool, they physically pull our eyes toward the action, creating this incredible sense of momentum.
So what happens when those lines start connecting? Well, you get shapes, our next tool. Clean, geometric shapes like squares and triangles can make a frame feel really tidy, satisfying, and orderly. But irregular, organic shapes, they can feel more natural, or if they're used in a certain way, they can create a feeling of just pure chaos.
Okay, this next one is one of my all-time favorite techniques. By using things that are already in the scene, like a doorway, a window, or even the space between two people, a filmmaker can create a second frame inside the main one. It's such a powerful way to focus our attention, and it can create feelings of anything from the cozy comfort of home to the sheer claustrophobia of being trapped.
All right, so we've got our basic geometry covered. Now let's talk about how to arrange our subjects within the two-dimensional canvas of the screen itself. This is all about the relationship between what's there and what isn't.
The key here is the dance between positive space, that's the area your subject takes up, and negative space, which is basically everything else. The more positive space a character gets, the more important they seem. But if you surround that same character with a ton of negative space, you can instantly make them feel incredibly isolated, or maybe even totally free.
You know, generally speaking, our eyes love a balanced image. It just feels stable and pleasing. But remember, filmmaking is all about making choices. So while balance is kind of the default, deliberately unbalancing a frame is a really powerful move to make the audience feel uneasy and on edge.
So how do they do it? Well, there are a few classic tools for creating that harmony. The rule of odds says that groups of 3 or 5 are just more interesting to look at than groups of 2 or 4. The golden ratio creates compositions that just feel right. And of course, you've got perfect symmetry, which Wes Anderson has famously used to create his formal, stable, and wonderfully artificial-looking worlds.
So far, we've pretty much been talking about arranging a flat, 2D image. But now we get to the real magic, creating the illusion of a 3-dimensional world. A world with layers, texture, and a sense that you could almost reach out and touch it.
The secret to this illusion is thinking in 3 distinct planes. You've got the foreground, the middle ground, and the background. The classic example comes from Citizen Kane. By keeping all 3 planes in sharp focus, the director visually tells this whole story of power dynamics.
The mother is huge in the foreground signing the papers, while little Charlie is tiny and innocent in the background, literally trapped behind a window. It's a whole story in one shot. Incredible.
Texture and patterns. These are the things that add that final, almost touchable layer to an image. A rough texture can make a character feel rugged, while a smooth one feels sleek. And patterns? They can suggest anything from harmony to complete insanity. But maybe the most powerful use of a pattern is when a filmmaker sets one up and then just shatters it. That sudden shift is guaranteed to grab your attention.
Okay, get ready, because now we're getting to the most powerful tools in the entire kit. These are the elements that can directly and subconsciously mess with how you, the audience, feel about a character, a situation, or a whole scene.
It's absolutely wild how much emotion can be conveyed just by changing the camera's perspective. You shoot from a high angle looking down, your subject suddenly looks small and powerless. You shoot from a low angle looking up, they become huge and intimidating. And if you tilt the camera on its side for a Dutch angle, you instantly create this feeling of unease and tension. The entire power dynamic changes in a split second.
And finally, let's talk about color and tone, the brightness and contrast of an image. And let me tell you, these can be so powerful, they can pretty much bulldoze over every other compositional rule we've talked about. Your eye will always be drawn to the brightest part of a shot or to a sudden pop of contrasting color. It's a surefire way for a filmmaker to say, pay attention, this is what matters.
All right, we've got our toolkit. Let's see how a master filmmaker combines all of these elements to build meaning moment by moment, shall we? We're going to break down a scene from the movie Skyfall.
Okay, so the scene is all about two things: mystery and urgency. Bond and his team have just realized a hard drive with critical information is missing. So the entire goal of the composition here is to guide our eyes as we, the audience, look for clues right alongside the characters.
To build this tension, the director, Sam Mendes, uses every tool we've talked about. You see these stark vertical lines of the skyscraper pulling your eye down long corridors toward a single isolated person. Characters are constantly framed in doorways or behind glass, which makes you feel like you're peeking in, like something's happening just out of sight. And the lighting is so harsh, right? Deep shadows and bright pools of light that force your attention on crucial details, like the empty slot where the hard drive used to be. It's a complete symphony of composition, with every single element working together to create that feeling of urgency. And that, right there, is the ultimate takeaway. Nothing, absolutely nothing you see in a great film is an accident. Composition is a series of deliberate, meticulous choices made by the filmmaker to tell a richer, deeper, and more emotionally powerful story. Every single frame is a decision. So the next time you watch a movie, you'll have the toolkit. You'll start seeing the leading lines, the frames within frames, and those subtle shifts in power that are created by a simple camera angle. You've been let in on the secret. So the only question left is, what new stories are you going to discover?